Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to Sunday night TLP Live. We got a great show for you tonight, as always. Hey, Paul, how we doing?
Happy Sunday, Dan.
Yeah. What a nice day. I spent a little time outside in between watching football today. Another good day for Packer and Bear fans. So,
I haven't had a chance to hear the scores. How do we do? We did good then, yeah?
Well, all I know is the Bears won. Packers scored another 40-plus points, so that was kind of fun watching. But and the Bears won, so I guess everyone's real happy with Mitch Trubisky now. So that's good.
How about that? It's so funny. Quick story about this one, Dan, is back in a few years ago, I would play fantasy football. I was a big fantasy football guy. Well, over the years, it got busy and life got a little busy, and I had to be able to, I had to put my fantasy game behind me. Well, my brother-in-law, unbeknownst to me, signed me up for a fantasy team this year. So all of a sudden, I get an email saying, "Congratulations, here's your lineup." And I was like, I had to call him, like, "What did you do?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we needed another guy. You're playing now." So I am now in a fantasy league, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
I don't either. I don't play fantasy. I have no idea what it is. But I know a lot of people talk about it and seem to have some fun. So,
well, for all of you fantasy players out there, if you could spare some tips, I would really appreciate it. Get on the comments and let me know who's good and who's not, because I can use all the help I can get right now. I'm 0-1, of course.
There you go. Well, say last week we started doing the switch over on the tickets. So for those of you that have let us know that you want your 2020 subscriptions applied to your 2021 subscriptions, that should be done by now. You should have received an email. We'll flip all of that over. And starting next week, we're going to start subscriptions for the 2021 season. Paul, I was thinking about this, and we're moving forward like everything's going to go bonkers starting in May out here. How does that feel to you?
Well, Dan, it is something that we all have to, we want to be able to keep positive, stay optimistic, and say, yes, that's what's going to happen. But truth of the matter is, just like the rest of the world, we just do not know what's going to happen. So what we have been doing is we have been planning alternative programming. And that is something that we're bringing to you. It started with our gala. We were able to bring our gala virtually. And I am just so proud of the fact that we were able to raise close to $50,000 with that gala to be able to bring that virtually experience to our audiences, had the party in the box. And so when you and I sat down and said, okay, we have to continue to offer our audiences something, we were able to find Chad Rabinowitz over at the Adirondacks Theater Festival, and we partnered with him to be able to bring everybody this October remote control, magic in a box virtual reality. And this is something we talked a little bit about last week, Dan, but I want to talk a little bit more because, this guy is blowing up right now across the world. Now, his name is Max Major, and he is a mentalist, and he is the star of the show. And basically, it's an interactive show. So when you buy your ticket, you're going to get a Zoom link, and we're going to mail you a box basically with all the contents that you'll need to enjoy the show to its fullest. And then Max is going to, it's a 90-minute show, and Max is going to walk you through and do all kinds of tricks. Now, here's the great thing about this show at this time. Max was just on America's Got Talent, and he went all the way through the semifinals. And just this past Tuesday, they chose out of 11 or 13, actually, they chose 5. He was number 6. So he didn't make it into the finals. But let me tell you something. The judges were like, there's confusing. His trick was amazing. He was able to have a roulette wheel, and he spun a ball, and different audience and judges picked the number. And then when those numbers came up on wherever the ball left, he actually had in his wallet all of the numbers. So
oh my gosh.
He's quite an amazing individual, and we're really excited to have and to be able to offer remote control to our audiences. Now, here is the dates. The dates are, they were October 1st through the 3rd and the 9th through the 11th. Dan, the 1st through the 3rd already sold out.
I saw that just from us talking about it. So now that we put a press release out for all of that, And we already sold 3 of the 6
We already
dates.
sold 3 of them. So there's still tickets available for the 9th through the 12th. And again, your ticket is $45. For $45, you're going to get your box. And so we recommend that you get it at least a week before the show to make sure that you insure the box. And then that will also be sending you a link, and you'll be able to watch the show live. Now, here's the thing, Dan. Max actually does interact with everybody. So you have to have your camera on, and you can have your family there. And he actually does interact. He calls on people to choose numbers, to talk about shapes, or whatever he's doing. So it's really the audience is a part of the act. It's very interactive. And Dan, you saw the show. What did you think of the show?
Well, I thought it was very good. I thought you did a great job. It was entertaining. It was fun to watch. It was fun to see other people reacting to his tricks. And actually, this is kind of where we got the idea of using a producer like that to produce our gala, to do all the tech for our gala. So
I'm so glad we were able to get Bernie, because when we get to our Christmas special, we're going to need another one of those, because he was very, very paramount for that success. But we do have the trailer of Remote Control, Dan. Why don't we go ahead and show the audiences the trailer?
All right, here we go.
It's Max Major. You've seen me demonstrate my abilities on America's Got Talent,
You're a demon.
That's amazing.
The Today Show, and dozens of viral videos across the internet. I've controlled Heidi Klum's mind over Zoom.
That is so weird.
I have an unusual ability to get inside people's heads and know exactly what you're thinking. And now I'd like to invite you to Remote Control, a highly interactive Zoom show where I'll be getting inside of your head through the screen.
Look what I wrote on the paper.
This is a show unlike anything you've ever experienced. Predicting your thoughts,
Oh my God.
controlling your actions, you won't believe your eyes.
Pretty cool.
So, I mean, this is a really great partnership for TLP to work with. What does Chad call his company?
It's the Adirondack Theater Festival.
Okay.
And he also has a company. He's got this virtual company. He's calling it In the Box Production.
That's the one, In the Box, yeah. So we're partnering with In the Box for this. And, if this goes well, there are some other opportunities to partner with him down the road, too.
And again, Dan, one of the things that we at Timberlake always, really thrive on is feedback from our audiences. So we want to let everybody know, if you're going to buy a ticket, if you're going to experience, let us know what you thought. Let us know, because again, like you said, Dan, nobody knows where we're going to be next year. We are moving forward. Like, we're going to do what we do the best, which is put on live shows, live musicals, plays. We've got such a great 2020-21 lineup. And I'm really excited about the fact that we're also getting ready to launch our brand new website, Dan. That is just, you, myself, Ben, D, and Bill, we've all been working on it. It's coming together great. I'm really excited for our audiences to see it.
Yeah, we did a walkthrough of the website Friday, and hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll have that out there and coincide that with opening up subscription sales for next year. So. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on this fall, even though we're hanging out at home.
Hanging out at home, but we're still staying productive, and that's what we're doing, Dan. TLP is pivoting, to be able to continue to bring entertainment to our audiences, because that's what we do and that's what we love to do. So we're going to continue to do so. And I'm just really excited about the fact that we are, Timberlake Playhouse is such a special place for so many people, and it is really a testament to our team, our core team, that has been doing our due diligence every single day to make sure that we're staying connected with our audiences.
So take a couple of minutes and kind of run down next year's season for everyone.
Absolutely. So 2021 is going to be stupendous, because not only is it TLP's 60th anniversary. That's right, folks. 60 years TLP has been entertaining the Northwest region of Illinois, and next year is going to be a paramount celebration. So we are going to open the season with Jesus Christ Superstar. And then the second show of the season, we are going to inaugurate a brand new Andy Bro, one of the founders of TLP, the Andy Bro Distinguished Playwright Award. And that is going to go to Lee Blessing. And we're going to do one of his shows, Ellen Mercenary, for the second show. Lee is actually going to be on Timberlake campus to accept the award. We're going to celebrate him. We're going to celebrate the show. He's going to give master workshops to our resident company, and he is going to be able to say hi to our patrons. So definitely keep looking out for that. That's going to be a huge celebration where that's an inaugural event. Then talk about inaugural events, Dan. The third show where TLP is going to do the very first world premiere at TLP. The very first time this show is going to be seen. What a Wonderful World, brand new musical. It's a jukebox musical about how Santa and Mrs. Claus met and fell in love in the late 1950s when they were in their 20s. A lot of fun. We did a virtual workshop earlier this year in May, and it promised to be fun, heartwarming, and funny. So I can't wait for everybody to see that. Then after that, it is everybody's favorite redheaded orphan, Annie, is coming to Timberlake, and Annie was going to play for 3 weeks next year, and we are really excited about that. Followed up by Legally Blonde in the 5th show, and then as the 6th show is going to be Ain't Misbehavin', which we're really excited about. One of my personal favorite musicals of all time, the music of Fats Waller from the Cotton Club days in Harlem, New York, 1930s. And then we are going to go into the fall with Buddy, the Buddy Holly story. And then we're going to go all the way to Christmas next year because, hey, we've got an enclosed theater and a heated theater. So we're going to do Plaid Tidings, which is the Christmas version of Forever Plaid. And so for those of you who saw Forever Plaid in the 18th season and loved it, this is going to be for you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that is quite a lot of theater going on, a lot of events. In addition to that, we have a full concert series, and that includes Rosie and the Rivets, a great Chicago band, the Chicago Experience, which is a Chicago Transit Authority or Chicago tribute group. Out here for our summer kickoff party on the 15th of May, we're doing Johnny Rustler and the Beach Bums during the day, and they do a Jimmy Buffett show. And then that evening we have the Beach Boys, not the real Beach Boys, but the Sounds of Summer. But they play all over the area. Then the following weekend, you're going to love this one. It's the Oh Boys. They're coming out, and if you'll remember, we know some of the Oh Boys. Kieran McCabe plays with the Oh Boys, and Kieran was out here for 2 seasons with us, and so he's going to be out again. And they're going to do a show on the 22nd. We've got Billy Joel tribute band. We have the Blues Brothers tribute band, the Eagles tribute band. We've got coming up in November, Boy Band Night, a year from this November, and that's going to be a great evening. It's a group of 5 guys, and they do all the boy bands from the 80s. And then we've had requested so much to have a Beatles tribute, so Brit Beat will be here on the 20th of November, right before Thanksgiving next year. So it's going to be a great summer of concerts, a great summer of parties. We're going to do our Brew Fest again on the last Saturday of October.
We got a celebrity chef coming up too, right, Dan?
We have celebrity chef.
Love that.
And we have a golf tournament coming up in about 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to do a golf tournament yet this year.
Wow.
So I don't have all the details on that, but we'll get details out as soon as I have it. We have a couple of local golfers that said we'd like to do a golf outing for Timberlake Playhouse, and by gosh, we're doing it. So I got a call the other day.
Good weather.
We're going to do a golf outing in November, or in October rather, and we'll get all the information out to all of you golfers to come and join us. Paul, you're a golfer.
Well, you know what, Dan? I used to be a golfer. I don't say that I'm a golfer anymore because I've been out a couple times this season, and wouldn't say I was a golfer, but I can actually I can swing and hit the ball. So,
all right, so a duffer then.
And you know what, Dan? I tell you, this is another thing is that we've been getting a lot of feedback on the fact that TLP Live has been bringing together so many wonderful TLP alumni, and tonight is no different. I'm really excited about our guests, but to me, really, if you try to make lemonade out of lemons with COVID, trying to get the best of us, being able to connect with our alumni and getting to know them again and making those relationships, man, that has really been exciting for me. I'm really, it's been great. And I'm so happy for all the alumni who have been on the show. And I'm really excited for tonight's guests as well.
Yeah, I am too. And let's bring them on.
Let's do it.
This is from the 1990 resident company. And Not only that, but this first guest was also a 1986 graduate of Dakota High School, where I was his drama instructor. And I had no idea that he was a TLP alumni until Lori Empen made some mention about this. Brad Hughes.
Hey,
Brad,
Brad.
you're muted.
Hello, hello.
There you go. Hey there.
How are you
So-
guys doing?
Well, we're doing fine. So you were out here in 1990, resident company. What shows did you do?
At that time, we did Broadway Bound, Neil Simon show, as well as Big River, and a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum.
Very good, very good. So you were Huckleberry Finn in Big River?
That's right, Huck Finn in Big River, Eugene in Broadway Bound, and Hero. I was cast as Hero in Funny Thing Happened, and left just before that actually started.
Oh, okay. Well, Brad, it's great to see you. I'm going to bring out our other guests too, and we'll kind of, snowball it around. I also had no idea that this gentleman was a Timberlake alum. He played your right-hand man in crime, Tom Sawyer,
That's right.
and he is also a Dakota grad. And I directed Chris for many years in high school theater. Hey there, Chris.
Not only high school, you essentially taught me all of the basics of theater in a summer camp in the summer of 1984.
Really?
So I can essentially link you from the very beginning of my theatrical career.
Holy cow.
Great.
Welcome, Chris, to the show. Thanks, you guys, for being here. You know, we've been talking to so many great alumni, and one of the things that I'm really excited about is that other than Kate Baldwin and Lori, we really haven't spoken to so many people from alumni from the 90s. So this is really great to be able to chat with both of you. Let's start with, where are you currently? Brad, where are you currently sheltering?
Sure. I'm a little bit further east in Chicagoland. I'm actually residing in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and our whole family is back together. We got the band back together to ride it out. So it's really been kind of fun playing more games, watching more movies, doing more puzzles than ever before.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What about you, Chris? Where are you at?
Normally, I live in New York City. I've been living in New York since '96, but I work in travel now, and I work from home. So I've allowed myself to live in a lot of different places, kind of because of what's happening with coronavirus, and because I work with Walt Disney World and Disney destinations. I am currently in Orlando, Florida.
Jamlando.
Yeah. And it's definitely just as surreal to be here as it probably is back in New York.
And all the now,
At least it's hot. It's still hot.
Universal Studios and SeaWorld and Disney, they're all open right now. Is that correct?
They are. I think Disney is really kind of out in front in terms of how much protection they're doing. And because Disney has so many performers who are here on special contracts with Equity, there's been a little bit of news within the theater world as Equity pushed back on some of the expectations that Disney initially presented when they wanted to bring those Equity performers back. They did finally come to an agreement a few weeks ago, and Disney has just brought their Equity performers back, starting today, actually, into the parks. So I'll be here until the end of October, and then I'll come back to New York.
Well, you're going to have to report to us back to see how everything is going over there. And now, will you get a chance to go and see some of the shows and some of the? Do you go to the parks?
Yeah, because I work as a Disney travel planner, I get to go into the park whenever I want. So I've been going in a lot just to try to understand all of the changes. Anyone that's ever been to a Disney park knows that everything is very regulated and they've got a lot of specifications. So Disney is very good at motivating crowd behaviors, and they have set up an entire system to deal with our new reality. So yeah, I've been in the parks a lot, and I'll continue to go for the next at least 2 weeks or so.
That's great.
So you say you're in the travel business. Tell us a little bit about your travel company.
So when I did study theater in college, and then I graduated with a BFA in musical theater when I got to New York, I was an actor, and I really liked acting, and I really liked performing, and I really liked rehearsing. But as I started working in different cities around the country, I realized that I wanted to see more of the world. And after a few years of working in theater, I found that my travel bug was almost even bigger than my desire to be, especially once I was doing longer runs. I got kind of tired of doing longer runs. Those weren't really my jam. And so I took a while to kind of transition towards what I wanted to do. But essentially, I created my own travel company back in 2005, and then it slowly grew. And then I just recently started transitioning towards doing more Disney stuff. But it was funny how even while performing and even while traveling while performing, I found that I just really love seeing the world. I like to know what the world is. And I didn't want to have to wait for someone to give me a gig in order for the chance to go to some place. I wanted to kind of chart my own path. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, I've kind of followed places that you've been on your Facebook channel, and oh my gosh, you've had some great. You were like what, in China, and you were Japan.
I've been in Japan. I've been in China. I've been in Argentina and Brazil and Chile, and yeah.
You were at you took a group to the Olympics, correct?
I went out to the Winter Games in Seoul and just outside of Seoul in Pyeongchang. And then I also, just for myself, I got to go to the Rio Olympics in 2016, which is really cool.
Very good.
So Chris, real quick, how does that? So just curious, how does that manifest itself? Because obviously, you started in the theater. You're doing your jam. Let's track it a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about like kind of how you got to the theater, how you got to, and then how you found Timberlake.
I think what I would love to get for your viewers just to know a little bit about is that one thing I think is unique about Timberlake is that it exists just where it is geographically. It's surrounded by very rural communities. And I was from one of those extremely small farm towns with only 500 people. And if you're a kid in one of those little farm towns who sees a musical someday and thinks like, oh my gosh, I love this, you're essentially dependent on an educator and an arts educator to expand that world for you. And so I cannot speak highly enough of what Dan Danielowski has done in terms of just affecting not only my life path, but so many other people. Arts educators serve such a tremendous role. And so because he was had a passion for theater, the fact that he had even been to New York and had seen a Broadway show was just astounding to me. But the fact that he could take a star, probably like attention craving child, and give them a platform to say, this is what center stage is. Here's downstage, here's stage left, here's stage right, and just teach you all of those basics all the way through junior high shows into high school shows. By the time I got to high school, I was very ambitious. So I started auditioning for theater camps and sleepaway theater camps. And then when I found out that Timberlake was doing Big River at the time I was a sophomore in high school, and I said, well, hey, I know they normally cast professionals in those roles, but I'm going to just submit for this and I'll see if I can get an audition and see if I might be lucky enough that they would consider me. But I was very ambitious, and it was only because I'd been nourished through arts education programs that I had that confidence to do it. So I showed up at Timberlake one afternoon for one of their auditions, and I said I was really only interested in Huck. I really wanted to be Huck, Brad. Sorry, but I really wanted to be Huck. I was very ambitious. But they saw me for Tom, and then they cast me. But that was my first professional theater experience at 16. And I think it was because of some of that I felt more confident when I was auditioning for college musical theater programs. I really only auditioned for the top musical theater programs. And when I got into Michigan, I felt really lucky, but that's where I decided to go. And from there, Michigan is one of those training programs that essentially puts you on a very New York bound conveyor belt. And I felt great about the time I had in Michigan. I had a really good time there.
Very good. And Brad, now let's same question. Like, are you small town rural that you found your way through it? What was how did your journey lead you to TLP?
Yes, absolutely. Very similar journey, actually. I lived not far from Dakota and went to Dakota High School, and worked very closely with Dan that entire time, and am likewise extremely grateful for everything that he taught me and the opportunities that he gave me for just this squirrely young combustible kid to be able to, act, sing, and dance. The only extracurricular activities that I knew when I was in junior high was detention and in-school suspension. So I was so grateful to have a positive outlet. And Scott Wernz was a huge help to me as well as my best friend. He basically just got me into the shows and introduced me to the arts. And I started all of that as a freshman in high school, and was in every show that Dan did throughout my high school career. And then went on to Northern Illinois University to also receive a BFA in theater, and work with directors from New York to London to be able to tour with some shows in Chicago, in doing Brighton Beach Memoirs, which was, of course, the precursor to Broadway Bound. Never got a chance to do Biloxi Blues as much as I would love to have. It was on my bucket list, but I basically just wanted to start a family. And so I did theater professionally for a couple of years. And then I got into admissions recruiting at a Christian college and became the director of admissions at Judson University. I was there for 7 years and loved it. Never thought I would leave. But then I got basically a call to ministry, and I was a youth pastor for 14 years at 2 separate churches, 7 years at one non-denominational church and 7 years at another. And most recently have started my own ministry as a wedding officiant. And so I have a team of 7 guys who basically serve the Chicagoland area in performing weddings. So I still perform, I'm just not on the stage.
That's great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
it's been a wild ride.
That's amazing. Dan, we just have, it's just the walks of life.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. You never know what's around the corner. I know my grandma always. It's quite opposite from the Daddy Warbucks line. It's you never have to be good to anyone on your way up because you're never coming back down. It's kind of the opposite of that. It's one of those things where you just, like I said, I had no idea these guys were Timberlake alumni, and in high school we had, and you mentioned Scott, he was another one kind of like that, and we have several from that group that are doing theater professionally or involved in the arts in one way or another. Scott runs a very big theater program in Texas right now. So
He's been trying to talk me down there for decades, and I've never taken the plunge, but grateful for the offer.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the fact that you two were cast as best friends as Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer in TLP's production of Big River. Tell us about what that experience was like. Did you guys know each other prior to that? Was that the first time you met? What was that like?
I will say that Brad was like the star of the shows when I was the kid. So like when you're a kid coming up in one of those schools, and as well as this other guy, Scott, that he mentions, when you're a kid in that kind of rural high school atmosphere, you're looking at that and saying, that's going to be me. Like I want to star in all the shows. But they retain that kind of star status because that's who they were when you were in junior high. So when I showed up and I was getting to do a show, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I'm with the star. But I was just excited. I think by the time that we started rehearsing, I mean, it's summer stock. How long is that rehearsal? Was it like 10 days, 2 weeks? How long did we actually rehearse that show?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, I think, because you had a couple of weeks to prepare it, and then you ran it, and then you were into your next show. So it was truly summer stock. We were on a conveyor belt and had to get it done, and so we did.
So I just remember the fact that from day one, people were bringing their A game, and for me, doing my first professional show, it was really cool to see people that were stepping it up to that level. But more than anything, I just remember looking at the resident company thinking, you guys must have been exhausted. Like, to this day, Paul, I would love to know, like, does anyone sleep when they do the resident company? Like, how do you guys do that?
Well, they sleep because by the time 10 o'clock hits, they're exhausted, so they go to sleep.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, you weren't. So you were a guest, and a couple of years younger. Brad, talk to us about how did you go to a unified audition? How did you like? What was the audition that you did to get into the resident company?
I believe they had some kind of Chicago cattle call, and I showed up, vaguely familiar with Timberlake, and thinking, hey, if I could do something local and be able to stay close by, I'd be, happy to do that. And little did I know that when I got cast, that I was in 3 leading roles in a row, and essentially was so honored and excited about that straight out of college that I said yes, and I moved right into a cabin at Timberlake, and I think we befriended a little baby mouse at one point, my roommate and I, we nursed him to life, and he was our child.
Now, this was the summer. This was well before there was any even roof on the concrete slab upon which we rehearsed. So we were like dealing with full-on mosquitoes and bugs and hot sun for those rehearsals. We did like the real summer stock experience.
And I don't know if you remember, Chris, but it was the first and only time that I had ever lost my voice, because when we were rehearsing Big River, we were rehearsing outside, and I was projecting and singing into the woods. And I don't mean the show, I mean like the physical woods. I was singing full voice into it, not realizing that I was basically wearing myself out. And by the time, I would say maybe a day or two before we opened, I lost my voice 100%. And everybody was in a frenzy to get me to just relax and drink tea, and every remedy known to man was thrown my way. And it was difficult getting back to full speed, but we made it happen. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the music had been lowered because the person who was playing Jim opposite me was a subterranean bass voice, and he couldn't sing any of the higher register things, and so they lowered all of the music. And I remember Dan, you even coming up to me after a show and saying, "What happened to all the music?" And I was like, "Well, we had to punt. We had to make it work for both of us." And so I sang things in a very high register, and he sang everything in this bass register that was just unbelievable. And it somehow worked. It wasn't ideal, but it was good. And we are grateful to be in the show and to have at least some voice to be able to perform it.
Well, you'd be interested in how the rehearsal pad looks right now. There also is not a roof on it. We had a 60-foot tree come down on it in that big windstorm a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no! And
just crushed it. So we are now in the process of rethinking the whole rehearsal pad.
It's also the second time that's happened in 18. At the end of my first summer, one came down and just caught the corner part of it, and so we patched it up. And then after this big windstorm, I was walking the campus, and as it happens, one of the guys that Dan had hired, one of the local guys, had come out also to make some measurements because we were doing some renovations to it. We both discovered that there was a massive 65-foot oak tree right in the center of the roof. So we're like, well, we'll hold on this for a minute, and we'll see what happens.
Wow.
But the good news is we have been trying to get the entire rehearsal pad to become a rehearsal pavilion with enclosed walls and a sprung floor, and make it room temperature, because as we continue to offer programming outside of the summer, we also need a place to rehearse that's also room temp controlled. So, it's been a mission of ours, and hopefully we'll get there.
It's amazing that you're getting a sprung floor. That was when I got to college, I got offered another summer stock job, and they wanted me to be dancing all summer. And as soon as they told me that we were going to be rehearsing on concrete, I was like, I'm not going to come and do your dance season on a concrete floor. Like, I turned it down just because they didn't have a floor. I wasn't going to do it. So that's great. It's a difference.
We put in a sprung floor 3 years ago, and the problem with it is, of course, we're outside there, and it gets weather. So the outside of it in the back is going to have a little replacement. But
so now the two of you, so you guys do you do Big River. You know, you have your experience with that, and then as you venture off, how does their path lead you to Chris? You know, travel, and Brad, the calling of becoming a pastor.
Well, in my case, we performed Broadway Bound, and then we did Big River, and then the artistic director, Zvanit, basically approached me and said, hey, look, you're really not going to stay local. It's obvious you want to do this professionally and move on from here. And we have another local guy who could step in and play hero for Funny Thing. And so I just basically bowed out and allowed for a more local guy to be able to take over that role. And I went to Chicago, and I basically sought to make a name in Chicago, and did a number of shows there and in California. And worked actually really closely with Scott Wernz on some shows, and working for HBO and NBC in California, and we loved it. But once again, I wanted to marry my high school sweetheart, Terry Cease, and so I did. And we wanted to build a family here in Northern Illinois, and that caused me to kind of look a little bit more toward what I would call legit jobs. And so, ones with insurance and, things that help you to remain stable and not live in your car. And so those are the kinds of things that I did to be able to, get to where we are now, and wouldn't change a thing, but I really felt like I had my run in theater, and successfully enough to feel like I could close that chapter.
I think when you're a theater person, you're kind of always a theater person, whether you are still performing or you're simply just going and seeing things. So the fact that I had loved theater from my childhood, it didn't surprise anyone that I wanted to study it and do it for college. But when you show up in a program that's a BFA theater program, one thing that's great is that you learn about so much more than just performing, and you really learn about the craft of the work. So by the time that I graduated from school, I moved to New York right away. I got we had a senior showcase that presented us to agents. I moved to New York and started auditioning, and I felt very fortunate. I got work really quickly. I got 3 shows offered to me within like 2 weeks of auditions. So I started working, and I worked in regional theaters. I did some shows in New York, but then I did shows around the country. And I was trying to only take, I didn't want to do a lot of ensemble work. I was really focused on trying to play roles that I thought I was right for. So I did things like Jack and Into the Woods, like those young bright-eyed Barry tenor roles. I did things like Duty and Grease and Cornelius Hackle and Hello Dolly and all of those kind of golden age shows. That was my niche. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the creative process. I enjoyed so many of the friendships that I was making. But after a few years of that, you start having other friends from college who start getting jobs with a little bit more stability, and people start looking at things like buying property and, like Brad said, like having health insurance. And your priorities shift a little bit. And so it was interesting to see friends of mine, even from school, many of whom who had been working, some of whom started their own theater companies, other people started writing theater. Some of the people that I went to school with have developed new works that even Dan has worked on. And some of the people that I went to school with started, doing really well and writing Broadway shows and winning Tony Awards. And it's funny when there's people that you just came up with in school who are winning Tonys. It's exciting. But even as I stepped out of performing, And it wasn't like a conscious choice that one day I said, I'm just going to stop acting. I just found that I was going to auditions and I was getting offered things and I just wasn't in the mood to do them. I was like, I don't want to go do how many productions of Hello Dolly am I going to want to do? I had been offered Forever Plaid so many times and I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to be in this. And so I just found that my priorities were changing and there were different things I wanted to do. And so I just started saying no more often and then eventually just going to fewer auditions. And when I really transitioned into a travel career, it was really just something that I kind of followed my passion. So one thing that's nice is that I still have those friends in New York and I can still go see people that I've known for a long time who are doing shows or who are writing shows. And there are people that are always coming out of the program that I was involved in. And we have a really amazing alumni network in New York where we really like to support each other. So that's been great. So even though I'm not a performer anymore, I still feel like I'm in that community. And that's
still a TLP alumni, which is great because again, that allows everybody, because I agree with you. I think that, I have the same, stories with my friends that I came up with that, out of the Western, I graduated undergrad in 1993 with such a talented group of people, and there's only a handful of us that are still involved with the industry, but that doesn't mean that they're still not connected to it in some way. And and to be honest with you, I mean, travel, that's kind of what we do as performers. Our job is to get the gig and go where the gig brings us, and so it makes sense that bridge for you to become a travel, is it travel? What is is it a travelographer?
I'm a travel planner. I'm a travel planner for people that are. I typically am working on Disney vacations, but I plan all kinds of travel for all kinds of folks.
Because those are just huge industry. I mean, that's a huge industry. It's like
do you still have the business that you started out there, the Ski Bums?
I do. Yeah.
So I thought that was just an amazing sort of thing that you started.
Yeah, that was really kind of the beginning of everything. I love to ski and I love to be in the mountains, and so that was really where my travel stuff started, was planning skiing vacations.
Very good, very cool. So here's a question for you guys. We're in COVID. Crazy COVID, right? We all experienced it, and we've our generation came up through it, and we know exactly, this is the first time we're experiencing this. Talk to us about how, where do you see this going? Where do you see the industry going? Where do you see your industry going as we navigate these waters through it? Brad, what do you think?
So the COVID situation starting in March has greatly impacted so many industries across the globe that the wedding industry is not immune and essentially has been hit just as hard, where brides are having to postpone their dream wedding that they've had since they were little girls to 2021 or 2022, or they're having to reduce their guest list to under 50 or under 100 if it's outside. Some of them are just abandoning their venues altogether and going and getting married in Indiana or Wisconsin because there's a little bit looser restrictions as it relates to the numbers that can gather together, and whether or not they wear masks and all those kinds of things are going to be personal choices. But it has impacted things to where I can pretty confidently say that 2020 is a bust. I've had maybe 50 weddings that have postponed to 2021, and 2021 is going to be insane because it will virtually double what was done in 2019, and we'll just have to weather a different kind of storm and try to hold on to my hair in the process, because it's going to be really busy, and then we'll probably level off in 2022. But generally speaking, I think that people are adjusting. We're just adjusting to the new normal that Pritzker brings us every month, sometimes each week or day, and trying to make the best out of a bad situation that nobody could have foreseen and nobody has control over. We can only control ourselves and make sure that we're safe and that we're keeping others safe in the process. And if we do those two things and are sensitive to others, I think that we can come out of this and prayerfully have a vaccine that would allow us to be able to get back to a greater normal than we're in currently. And if nothing else, we will have a greater appreciation for our relationships and certainly for our health as well.
Some of the travel planning I do is for people who are coming to New York, and a lot of those people are coming to see a Broadway show. It is the number one thing that tourists indicate that they do when they travel to New York. It is, many people will only see the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building one time, but every time they go to New York, they will see a show or a series of shows that have opened for the season. So the fact that Broadway is canceled through the rest of the year and that we don't have an opening date into next year, people are optimistic that in the best case scenario, there might be some shows that have opened in March or April. There's a revival of The Music Man that is kind of everybody's got their eye on, just because it's got a lot of money and some very big stars with Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster. But if Broadway does not reopen, New York City tourism will continue to suffer, and that's really concerning to me. I know that this entire experience has really reminded us how much we really love and need the collective experience that theater has, where we're all in this space together and having these emotions and a shared experience that can only be felt and experienced live. So I know that it's creating a deep craving for it, but I also know that it's going to be some time, even once we get a vaccine, it's going to be some time before people feel confident and safe being in those kinds of atmospheres. So I'm optimistic, but I really hope that those in power will step forward to support the industry. And whether that comes through private donations or whether that comes through public funding, I know that the arts are essential to the United States and to what really is our cultural identity. So if there's anyone out there who has an opportunity to donate, the Actors Fund and a number of other fantastic organizations are hosting a lot of charity events to help the thousands, tens of thousands of theater artists around the world, but especially in America and in New York, who are currently out of work. I have a lot of friends in Broadway shows. I have a friend who just got his first Broadway show 2 weeks before they had to close, and it was unfortunately a musical that is announced a permanent closing notice. Frozen, Disney's Frozen, is not going to reopen.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and a number of other shows have. It's very unlikely that they will be able to reopen. I think the way that this affects the business of Broadway will be dramatic, because investors will be wary to invest in risky projects if they don't know that an audience is going to be there. There are some shows that can survive with just a local audience, but there's a lot of shows that once they've been playing for a long time, they can only survive with a tourist audience. So a long-running show, like even something big like Lion King or Wicked or Phantom, the New Yorkers have already seen it. So if tourists aren't coming to New York, those shows won't survive. I think we're going to see a really dramatic shift. What I hope, sorry, I'm talking too much, but what I hope is that the creatives within us will think outside the box about what kind of creative experiences we can create for that kind of collective communal experience. And that might be, we might have a lot more theater outside. We might do a lot more of, Shakespeare in the park, or who knows. But I hope that we can really bring the full force of our creativity to support the arts and to find ways to have those shared experiences together.
I agree, Chris. My hope is that the theater realm can take some cues from the church, that those churches that are opening slowly, even currently, are making some adjustments in the space between rows and things that allow. I mean, they're taking every other row out to give a 6-foot distance and putting spaces between the seats that allow people to only have those sit next to them that they feel comfortable having that close to them. And if the theater realm allows for those kinds of adjustments to take place, and our our elected officials will allow for, you know, those kinds of activities to start to enter back into motion again, then we could very well see a resurgence as we do that the most, you know, safe way that we can to allow people to still have these kinds of experiences and emote and enjoy and be in the community without putting each other at risk.
Going to church is free, and it will be a very difficult decision about whether or not Broadway producers would be willing to charge twice the price for a ticket if they're only filling 50% of their seats.
They
For
won't.
sure.
They won't. Broadway won't open until all of the theaters can probably be max capacity, unless the owners also want to change their tune, which, you know, that's a whole other conversation. We could probably spend a whole show on the owners to producer relationship of Broadway.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, Paul and I sit on a panel weekly where we talk with other theater practitioners and theater owners and artistic directors around the country. And the conversation that you just had is the conversation that we continue to have with them about, you know, pulling the rows out and social distancing. And then how do you deal with singing on stage? There are so many moving parts. And then the bottom line is it economically feasible to even open?
Yeah.
So
But
I got a couple comments here I want to put up. Hi, Brad and Chris, seeing you.
Sure.
Yeah. So was Mike Costumer here when you guys were here?
Well, I'm sure since probably the very first show I ever did. Well, not the first show. The first show I did was actually with you, Dave. But then in 1985, I did a production of Peter Pan over at Highland Community College. And I'm pretty sure Mike was in that. If he wasn't, then he was certainly in one of the next few shows. I did Oliver, I think, a summer or two after that out of Highland. So I've known Mike Shore for a very long time. It's great to see you.
Mike is now TLP board president. So thank you, Mike, for watching. And Laura Kashner, I missed the theater yet. We do too. Hey, Laura. Laura is one of our gala committee members. She does a lot of great graphic work for us.
Yeah, and you know, Chris, you really hit the nail on the head. Entertainment, actors, creatives, everybody in this industry. The entertainment industry is essential because you know what everybody's doing right now. They're watching television, right? They're watching movies. That has not stopped. And to say that our industry is not essential, I completely disagree with, because what would people be doing if they did not have their televisions right now? They would be going absolutely insane. And so I really hope that our government leaders can recognize that and be able to come to some sort of a rescue, to throw a lifeline, because again, what is important is safety. You know, Dan and I, every decision that we have to make, we go to our board with, it's always about the safety of our patrons, our employees, our artists, and that can't stop. But it also we also need to know that, you know, theater and theater artists, they are a very big part of this country and the lifeblood of what we do. And so I really agree with you that it is an essential. And you know, for Dan and I, we have Timberlake Playhouse that we are very fortunate enough to be a part of. But there are so many out there that are just freelance and they don't have an opportunity to earn income right now. And that is something that we need to make sure that we're doing our part to trying to bring back. And so that is a very good thing. And thank you for that. And maybe you can write about it in your next travel log about how everybody needs to go to New York and come to Timberlake and see shows.
I love to write. I feel fortunate when I get the chance to write. Someone had recently asked me to write a piece for a magazine that's going to go to print in December. So I need to come up with something to write about. Maybe that should be my topic.
There you go.
Ready to come up with a good pitch.
So we have just a couple minutes left. Tell us a positive memory of Timberlake when you guys were out here. Chris, do you have
Brad, you go first. Brad, you go first, because these memories are cobwebby. I got to tell you, it's going to take me a minute to come up with a good one.
You know, I remember a person, and I want to say his last name is Stauffer. And we worked together on both of those shows, Broadway Bound and and Big River, and he was in the chorus, I think, in Big River. But just a fun character. I think in the area there of Mount Carroll, he has a framing photography business, and just a really great guy. And I think that part of what makes the entire experience there so rich at Timberlake is, at least for the actors, is the relationships that you create along the way, the friendships that you make, and just networking and those kinds of things. I remember that there were actors that were there, from New York and from all over the country, some of them operating under assumed names for some reason. But I know, I know that they really enjoyed that experience, and it only made us all more knowledgeable. It made the experience more rich. It made it a lot more fun because we got to experience not only incredible shows, but incredible performers who were able to bring their own best practices and tips and tricks and stories along the way that just made that a really incredible experience all the way around.
I think one impression that it gave to me that I can really pinpoint as being formative. So having just kind of done community theater before Timberlake, I think the best example of the kind of shows that I had been would probably best those that are in like the Christopher Guest films, like Waiting for Guffman. Like those were kind of what some of our community theater experiences were, where there were some people that were taking things more seriously, and then there were other people that were really just there to have fun. But when you're doing a show at Timberlake and you're a teenager and you're meeting people that are astonishingly talented throughout the company, one of the things that it showed me is that there are countless tiny little creative decisions that are being made by every member of the cast, which you as an audience member might pick up on or might not. But that rehearsal process where you and some other ensemble member are creating your characters, you're discussing maybe what some of your business might be when you're in an ensemble piece, or you're developing relationships of moments that might be happening anywhere on the stage. And you're seeing that these people that you're working with are tremendously creative, and you're creating a very detailed piece of theater. It just showed me that there's real value in, no matter where you are in the company, no matter what moment of the show you're in, whether it's something that you're downstage singing your solo, or you're back in the back just kind of setting the scene for an ensemble scene. That kind of consistent creativity is not only what makes it fun to perform 8 times a week, but ideally really creates a detailed experience for the audience. And getting the chance to see actors who were bringing just that amount of creative professionalism to the work, I think it set me up with an understanding of what work ethic really is. And that was something that I could carry forward. By the time that I was a professional working actor, I think those early experiences were enough to me to be like, you know what, we might be up here at this part of the show. We might not have our little moment in the spotlight. What we're doing is vital, and it is crucial for the creation of this theater experience. And it's really fun to see that kind of stuff. If you're just an audience member, you might not know that that every one of those people are fascinating and brilliant and bringing all sorts of creative choices to the work that they're doing, and allowing themselves to play and be interactive from night to night, so that no 2 nights of the show are going to be the same. I mean, it was formative for me to see some of those things, and it really helped me understand what professionalism could look like when it comes to creativity. I loved that.
It truly is an ensemble experience, a collaborative art form, and everybody counts. If it's one thing I always say to all my cast is that there is no star. Everybody's equally important, whether you are whether you are assistant stage manager offside, saying go, or whether you are the lead of the show. It does take everybody working at full volume for it to work.
Yeah,
For sure.
Well, gentlemen, it was a pleasure seeing both of you tonight. Thank you for joining us. I am so glad that you guys are Timberlake alumni. We haven't had our Chicago alumni gathering for years. We should get that started again, Paul. And we missed our typical New York gathering this past year. Or did we do it this past year?
We did not.
No, it was the year before. Yeah. So
As alumni, is there a fight song or a Timberlake jingle that we should learn? How does this work?
well, maybe we might write one.
Well, then Chris and I will sing it. Happy to do it.
All right, very good. Thank you so much, guys. It was great having you on tonight. Take care.
Thank you. God bless you all.
Bye now. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was a really good time.
Yeah. So what's up for this week? We got to get the website out and going. We're going to start selling subscriptions. We're going to finish up our transfer over to the new year and start looking forward to opening this place up again.
I can't wait. So, in the meantime, we got remote control coming up. Check the website for details. Tickets are available for the 9th, 10th, and 11th of October, and that starts at 7 p.m. Central Time. Get your tickets now so you can get your box. And in the meantime, we will continue to bring you TLP Live, as well as we'll be starting to talk about our Christmas show. Geez, I can't believe we're going to start to talk about Christmas already, Dan. It's September.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Well, here we are. So we're going to start getting into the Christmas special as well. So thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in for another episode of Timberlake Live, TLP Live. And Dan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for everything you do.
It's a pleasure. Same to you. And as was stated several times tonight by our guests, just remember, we're all in this together.